Joining us now, someone who has a lot of stake in that conversation, Democratic Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester of Delaware.
Senator, I think Tuesday showed a lot of things, but one of the takeaways I had is that voters are exhausted by the chaos in politics, and they do prefer candidates and issues that are just clear and speaking directly to what is affecting them in their lives: prices, flights, SNAP, affordability. So let's just put the reduction map, the FAA reduction flight map, up on the screen for folks. Everywhere from Anchorage. I mean, I wanted to list them, but goodness gracious.
Good luck.
So Senate Democrats seem to have had a productive, I'm using air quotes, meeting today with your counterparts in the Senate. Are we any closer to the government reopening? Because that map, those closures, those disruptions, they start tomorrow.
You know, first of all, I will say that you're correct. We did have a very productive meeting in our caucus because no one wants to see the shutdown continue. And I think it's very clear, even hearing the president, that he recognizes that Republicans are hurting from this, but more importantly, the American people are hurting from this. They've been hurting from day one with the chaos and the corruption and all of these things all put together. And so we have an opportunity right now to solve this. We can both open the government and make sure we restore the ACA tax credits that now my constituents are opening up their computers and seeing their health care premiums could double, quadruple. They've already experienced the pain of higher grocery bills, housing, energy costs, and that's what Tuesday's election really showed. It was really a referendum on affordability and making it clear that that's what the people care about. They don't care about, you know, one of the things I think about is that in the very beginning, the president talked about this golden age. The only thing that we're seeing is gold plates. We're seeing us tear down the White House to build a gold ballroom. That's not what people had in mind when they elected the person who said, I'm going to bring down your cost on day one.
Senator, the federal judge tonight, saying that the full SNAP benefits must be paid out by tomorrow. Let's be clear, though. Another federal judge said that at least partial payments had to be paid out by today. That didn't happen. And when you're looking at these flights, Secretary Duffy is suggesting that there are going to be more and more canceled flights with every passing day. How much does this reality, right, regardless of what a federal judge says, that the administration is making the decisions, how much does that weigh on you and your willingness to, if I may, give in?
Yeah, well, I mean, let's take a step back and think about SNAP. The cuts to SNAP started in the big, beautiful bill, the most historic cut in the history of this country. And so now, with every time they go back to the courts, which is, to me, unconscionable. I cannot believe that you would fight the courts to give people access to nutrition and food. It doesn't make sense. And so for us, we're saying, again, come to the table. We're here. We've been ready, willing, and able to make sure that we negotiate and open up this government. But even for states like mine, the state of Delaware, we've got great leadership. Our governor and our General Assembly actually have said we're going to step in the breach when this administration is backing away from the American people. I put in a bill called the Snap Back Act to pay states back who do the right thing, the morally and the financially right thing, by supporting their constituents. And so, to me, again, if he can do a tweet and a meme, tell his members who are in the House to come back to Washington, D.C. and get to work. Sit down with us and really think about the pain that this is causing the American people. I go back to Tuesday because I do think that it really did show across the political spectrum, up and down the ballot. I mean, I was amazed that in places like Georgia, up and down the ballot, people were voting for Democrats. And as the vice chair of the DS, the organization who's charged with trying to make sure we win back the majority, I want to be clear that we also know we're going to have to continue to work and fight to earn people's votes in 2026 and beyond.
So just a timeline question here. You think you're going to be here through this weekend?
I'm willing to stay. I'm willing to stay through the weekend.
When do you think there's a possible vote?
So I'm not gonna. I'm not this. I'm not Thune. I'm not the leader. But what I do know is that we, and I will speak even for our freshman class, I'm one of 6 freshmen, and in the Democratic caucus, 5 of us are actually from the House. And so we've been reaching out.
You know the way this works.
We've been reaching out not just to Democrats in the House, but Republicans in the House, and saying, listen, there are Republicans over there who want to come back, open up the government, and deal with the tax credits.
So there are Republicans that want to come back that you yourself have spoken
that
to.
I have myself spoken to.
So what is the next, to Alicia's point then, what is the next step here? Because just for a civics lesson for people at home, if the Senate passes something that is not what the House passed, and which at this point it will not be, because the House passed resolution only funded the government through November 21st. So at least y'all are going to change the timeline. The House will need to come back and vote on that before it can go to the president's desk.
Right.
So you're talking to Republicans, but what about are the Republicans talking to the Republicans?
So again, the important thing to me, what I've learned in my short time being in the House and now in the Senate, is that when you want to get something done, you can get something done. Mm-hmm. And for us, one of the main things, and for me personally, is that we can have a vote on the tax credits in the Senate, but if it's going nowhere in the House, that's not good enough for me. And so, again, that's one of the reasons why we, in our freshman class, are really trying to make an effort to be a part of the solution of finding a way to open the government and get those tax credits. So there could be a myriad of ways, and we've actually talked about different ways to get to the yes, but it requires them coming back to the table, and it requires Donald Trump really to be focused on this. And after the results of this election, I think we've got his attention.
So are there Republican members that you think are willing to make the commitment that a vote on the ACA subsidies can take place at the same time that the government vote takes place to reopen? Because Speaker Johnson, literally a couple hours ago, said that that is not happening. And I think there's a question of whether John Thune and Senate Republicans may be on board. From your conversations, are you convinced at all that any Republican members will have that conversation with Speaker Johnson to demand that?
They've already been on the record, many of them. Some of them are on a piece of legislation that has equal numbers of Democrats and Republicans saying, we want to deal with an extension of these tax credits. So there are already Republicans who are on record. And again, my message is, Donald Trump, if you're watching, if you're listening, the American people are hurting, and they want us to move forward and make sure that we restore their health care. It's not sustainable for people. I'm literally seeing people come up to me in my state crying, saying, help us. I had a letter from a woman, and she said, these are supposed to be our golden years. And at the end of the letter, she said, I'm a Republican. So this isn't even partisan. They are literally hurting everyone right now. And we just said, come to the table.